Online Racing is sponsored by Elgato, who created this lovely Stream Deck. For more information about the Stream Deck, the link is in the description below.
Hello and welcome to the Apex Online Racing YouTube channel for round 3 of Season 16 of the Project Cars 2 GT3 League with Tier 1 here on the PC platform. This evening I am going to be commentating, and joining me in the commentary box once again is Mashup Matt. Matt, how are you doing, sir?
Good evening, Yorkie. Good evening, everybody. Yes, and we are at the Circuit of the Americas back on the United States tonight. I'm looking forward to this because, of course, it is the first time this season where we will be having 2 races. We have the 10-lap sprint race and the 20-lap feature race, which features a reverse grid as well. So I'm looking forward to this one because there's always some excitement to have in those reverse grid races.
Yep, definitely 100%. Just quickly before we get into the actual qualifying session and the talk of the format for this evening, let's take a very quick look at the championship standings here coming into this round. And you can see at the top of the table is Strongest Avenger in his Aston Martin, a total of 103 points that he has racked up over the previous 2 rounds. Following reasonably closely behind him is Dynamite Live there with 26 points in total, with his teammate Lumi in 3rd position in the championship. Yorgurk, driving the Janetta, becoming a bit of a fan favourite, is there in 4th position. THR Moo, who is not going to be here present for this evening, currently holds 5th position, but he will no doubt drop down the order. We've got Trip there, along with Alan Fubar, Tony Clifton and Bogue Franz to round out your top 10. And then you can see the other drivers all the way down to 15th position. And Andrex there in 12th position, our previous season winner of Season 15, the champion making a return. He's down there in that 12th position mainly because he missed the first race of the season. If we jump to the second half of the field, you can see the remaining 15 odd drivers there. We've got WMDR Martin in 16th position at the top of that half, with Jack Game just behind. Speedy Go, Yorgurk's teammate, down there in 19th position, also missed out on the first round. Atomic in that 20th position, having missed round 2. We then got Luke Cameron, Nidelap, excuse me, Nat Beecliff, Ragnar Jobsk, the kinky one, Sinterfell and Nini down there in 30th position. A number of drivers having scored no points, hence the no number next to their name. But you can see in that second points column that we've actually got the points difference between all the drivers. Now we are live with the qualifying session here. So here we are with the cars out onto the circuit once again. Matt is handling the cameras, and we are watching Jack Game at the moment, just doing a little bit of tie weaving as he comes out of turn 11, heading down the long back straight down towards turn 12.
Yeah, of course, this is one of the more modern race tracks. Of course, we've seen this since, I believe it was 2012 when it first hosted the Formula 1 race. And I know some of the drivers are looking forward to this, some are not, as you tend to get with most circuits. I don't know what to make of this track, all in told. I've driven it plenty of times before. It has got a pretty nice flow to it. But what do you think, Yorkie? Is this one of your favourites, or is it possibly somewhere where the drivers really need to, you know, get themselves up and running with first before they can really challenge?
I enjoy this circuit, but it is very much dependent on the car. The faster the car, so basically GT3 and upwards, kind of going towards your Le Mans prototypes or Formula 1 cars, or indeed Indy cars that have a bit more downforce to them. They could be very enjoyable cars to drive around this circuit, but otherwise, if you're kind of GT4 levels, they'll be alright, but anything below that where you don't have all that much downforce and lacking a bit of grip, I can imagine this circuit being quite frustrating. That first sector with the SS section, nice flow or switchback corners that are very reminiscent of Maggots and Beckett's. You kind of need the downforce through there. The second sector which we're in, whilst we're on board with Strongest Avenger at the moment, it's a lot more high speed. Obviously got the long back straight here, but despite this long back straight, it is actually a track where you want that downforce and those wing angles, so you'll be kind of going for a more high downforce setup and just kind of dealing with the drag down that back straight. Coming into the final sector now with the stadium section, this is certainly going to be a sequence of turns that's going to favour those cars that can make use of the downforce, such as the Ginetta. We saw Yogurt in the at the wheel of that last week, really making use of the speed and nimbleness of that car over the mountain section. I imagine that he'll be pretty strong through sectors 1 and 3, but will probably struggle in that middle sector, and maybe a little bit of a sitting duck unless he can pick up some good slipstream on that long back straight.
Yeah, we saw that last week, didn't we? That Yogurt, the Ginettas, the Renaults as well, they were very strong, especially through the twistier sections of Bathurst, where we were last week. But of course, if he can stick in the toe or the slipstream of a car in front, he's going to be there or thereabouts as well, as Strongest Avenger sets the first time of the session, and is, well, unsurprisingly, he's currently fastest at the moment.
No, so
we'll oh, he hasn't actually. Dynamite Alive has just gone faster than him by 0.3 of a second.
Yep, literally just as you were saying that, he went and popped in the new provisional pole time, as you say, by 0.3. Yogurt currently holding a provisional P3 with Bogue France there in P4. I think that's Yogurt's teammate P5. That'll be Speedy Go with As Turbo in P6. I'm currently watching Lumi at the moment as he's coming into the slower stadium section, yet to have set a lap time to get his position on the board. But we've got about 9 minutes and 40 odd seconds to go here in this qualifying session, where we, as you mentioned earlier on in the stream at the beginning, that this is the first of our double headers. So the format for tonight is the 15-minute qualifying session that we have here. This will determine the grid order for race 1, which is a 20-minute sprint race. It is literally that, as it says on the tin. No mandatory pit stop required, and it'll be a standing start. So from the moment the lights go green, we are racing. No manual formation lap for that race. The results from race 1 will be carried over into race 2, and those results will be reversed. So it's a reverse grid order for that second race, our feature race of the evening, and that'll be a 40-minute race with a mandatory pit stop. Now, if anything is to go by, well, if anything that happened last season in terms of these double header rounds is anything to go by, if you don't already have a beverage of some sort, whether it be a tea, a coffee, an alcoholic beverage, or a soft drink, or possibly some snacks, now is your time to go and get them. Get yourself strapped in for this evening, because we are in for one hell of a thrilling night.
I'm glad you said that, because I've got the stream snacks right next to me to keep me going to this. I'm looking forward to this, because in the feature race, it gives those drivers who can't really keep up with the pace at the front, but are fast enough to get some decent results. They should be on for a decent amount of points, and of course we have enough action then with the faster drivers making their way through the grid. So it's a really good format that I certainly enjoyed when I took part in Tier 2 last season. So it's going to be interesting to see how the faster drivers make their way through, and if any of the midfield drivers, or even some of the drivers that are struggling at the back, can they get some good results tonight.
Definitely, that was the whole plan with the coordinators as well. It's kind of having this action-packed evening of racing, just to make it a little bit more exciting, and obviously give that opportunity to some of those guys who may not have got the best of results in the first race. The points are split up across the two races as well, so the leader will get, or shall I say, the guy who finishes in P1 will get 25 points in race 1, and if they finish in first position in race 2, they'll also get 25 points for race 2, giving a total of 50 for the evening. So that was one of the changes that we made from last season. As we see Tripp come across the line, he goes and pops himself up into a provisional P10 before immediately jumping back to the pits. And there is Speedy Go, currently holding that provisional P5. He'll be looking for a better result than what he got last time out in Bathurst, and trying to keep pace with his teammate Yogurt.
Bit of an attritional race towards the end of last week, wasn't it? You know, we saw even the race leaders having problems as Speedy Go just pulls off there. He's obviously abandoned that lap. But I've been impressed with Strongest Avenger. You know, he was running second for a lot of the race last week, but he kept his head and came away with the victory again, and he is looking really, really strong this season.
Yep, he definitely is, and he's surprising a few people with that Aston Martin as well. It's not a car that's been frequently used throughout the AOR seasons here in Project Cars 2. It was a fair amount in a couple of seasons during Project Cars 1, where it was a bit more competitive, but in this second Project Cars title, it seemed to receive a little bit of a bop, and it wasn't quite as quick. I did a couple of videos on it, and around some circuits, especially the power circuits, the ones where you can really stretch the legs of that V12 and get the top speed out of it, it is a very competitive car. But in some other tracks, some of the tighter, twistier ones, especially the next round, round 4 at Long Beach, that's probably going to be a track where this car really suffers. But around here at Circuit of the Americas, it might do fairly well. So definitely be keeping a keen eye on him throughout this race, as obviously he'll be looking for hopefully his third race win of the season.
Yeah, there's been some fairly consistent performers already, hasn't there, this season? Obviously, Strongest Avenger is one of them. But also we're looking at the likes of Yogurt and Lumi, who's had 2 third places so far. Still some very strong performances from him. But who outside that top 3 do you think could threaten to put up a challenge to these front 3? Or do you see it being maybe even just a 2-horse race during the season?
As we noted with the championship standings, Dynamite Alive, he's currently 2nd place in the championship. He's I reckon he's a real contender for this race. I imagine the Lamborghinis will do pretty well around here. He currently holds that provisional P1 as strongest. I think improved on his lap time. Yep, he certainly did, and closed up towards Dynamite Alive, but it's still the 2 Lamborghinis at the front. We've got Luke here at the moment. He's a little bit further down in the championship standings in 21st position. Imagine the Audis might do fairly well. We can see a weaving SLS in the background. That'll be either Alan or Andrex. They both pretty good, consistent drivers. The long back straight should help the that Mercedes to get to its top speed potential as well. So Luke's doing a nice job coming through this final stadium section, but I think it's probably going to be either Dynamite Alive, Lumi, Yorgurk, maybe 1 or 2 other drivers stepping in to make a slight upset. But I would have thought those will be the 3 key drivers. Potentially the Moo as well, but he's unfortunately not able to make it here for this evening.
Yeah, as we were just pointing out, Yorgurk's just gone 3rd. He's only a 10th off that pole position time. So again, making that Ginetta work very well around these power efficient tracks as well. The one place I probably do worry for him is when we get to the Red Bull Ring, because that is predominantly a power circuit, but he is doing supremely well in that Ginetta as Luke stays 16th and pulls off the track. Let's have a quick look at WMDR Martin then.
Yep, he's just coming into what corner was that one? I think it was turn 16, sorry. And yep, he's now going through the long right-hander of 17 and 18. Very tricky corner, as you think you could take a little bit more speed going into it than you initially think, and then the corner tightens up slightly through one of the apexes and then opens back up again. So it's a little bit misleading, but Martin did a good solid job, and there's also a few lines through that corner as well. Turns 19 and 20 were nice and neat. And now just coming across the line, I think he's just starting a flying lap potentially. It didn't look like he improved on his lap time. Turn 1, obviously blind, very deceptive, quite difficult to spot the apex, but we get a decent drive off of that. Coming through the right-hander of turn 2 should be pretty much flat out before we come into the S's section. That'll be interesting to see how the drivers handle the curbs here. Martin making full use of them and doing a good job of keeping the car in check, because they can unsettle and pull the car around a fair amount. A couple of drivers were talking about that prior to this race, but it's been very nice, neat and tidy coming through the S's section, taking an awful lot of curb on the inside there. Obviously driving with the pad a little bit more difficult to be 100% precise. He's doing a very solid job as we're into the braking zone for turn 11. Be a number of different lines and approaches going into that corner. Some will stay out wide and then cut in quite late. Other people will do what Martin did there and kind of point the car a little bit more towards the apex. And then the drivers get a chance to settle down a little bit, take a nice deep breath, recompose their thoughts before the hard braking zone of turn 12, just before the 100 meter board, about 130, 140 meters before the corners where these cars will start braking, slowing the car down. Coming into turn 13, Martin hanging towards the inside of the circuit, trying to make the corners as short for himself as possible. Then into the difficult 15 and 16, very late apex, get the car rotated, get hard on the power, and try and make use of the traction. Now we're into the long double or triple right-hander. That's where it tightened up a little bit. Now it opens back out again. Martin holding a tight line on the exit. Try and open up this penultimate turn a bit more for yourself, which is quite a difficult one as well as it tightens on the exit. The exit curve comes up to you a little bit quicker than you expect, and then the final corner is just a little bit painful in terms of the slow apex speed. Feels like you're bleeding off way too much speed each time that you go into it. But Martin coming across the line, looks like he stays in 12th and doesn't improve on his lap time there either, as we're into the final few seconds, and Martin finds and makes very good friends with the wall.
Yeah, he wasn't slowing down for that, was he? Just wanted to get straight back to the pit lane. But there's not a lot to choose between these top four. They're all covered by less than 0.2 of a second. And look at the gap they've got back to 5th place. And Beau Fran's doing well. He's up there in 5th place as well. Let's see if Lumi can get close to Dynamite Alive, who's set the pace so far. Oh, it looks like he's bailed out of it. Perhaps he knew that he wasn't going to improve there. So the Yogurt and Strongest Avenger still on laps as well. Let's see if they can do anything in the countdown to the end of this session.
Yep, so this is one of the areas where this Ginetta will do pretty well. Nice, light and nimble. Will be good under braking, good through the slow speed corners. Nice and agile, and then Yogurt saying that it picks up speed a bit like a rocket compared to some of the other GT3 cars. It just doesn't have the top end speed. Just kind of whistles out. Coming through the long right-hander, looking nice and solid there. Trying to open up the corner for himself, coming into the second to last turn, not really troubling the exit curve too much. Nice and tidy. And into the final turn itself. So you're going to improve from his provisional P3. The two guys up in front of them are already locked into first and second places, but they could be bested here by Yogurt. And it doesn't look like he improved in terms of his lap time. Strongest Avenger comes across the line. I don't think he's improved either. So drivers locking themselves in. It's Tony Clifton now as the next driver in 9th place coming across. He jumps up into 7th. He does improve there in the dying moments. There's WMDR Martin with some smashed up tail lights. And then, is there any other drivers who are out on circuit? Or is that
Doesn't
everyone?
look like it. Clifton's just finished his lap. Yeah, these are the only two out on the circuit, and they look to have finished as well. So I think we have our grid lined up.
Yep, it looks like we do. We're just, I think where Martin went across the start-finish line before the countdown timer actually reached 0, the game still thinks he's on a bit of a lap despite having gone into the wall. So hopefully he retires back to the pits within the next 30 seconds or so we can advance onto the race session. But I guess we can do a confirmation of the results then with Dynamite Alive picking up pole position for this first race this evening. Lumi was in second. The results shall pop back in just a second. There they are. Yogurt in 3rd position with Strongest Avenger in 4th. Beau Franz, as you say, doing a very solid job to get 5th position. Speedy Go in 6th. 7th goes to Tony Clifton with Trip in 8th. Alan in 9th. And Andrex will round out the top 10.
Yeah, very solid qualifying. I'm just looking at these split times, and as we were talking about, that first sector and that third sector for the two Ginettas are where they are very, very strong indeed. But said Beau Franz, very good qualifying there in 5th place. Tony Clifton strong again in 7th. Trip in the top 10 as well, as we look a little bit further down as well. So we have As Turbo in 11th, WMDR Martin in 12th, Stefan Carey in 13th. Kirinek comes home in 14th place, ahead of Jack Game. Atomic there in 16th, just ahead of Luke. Zenzik in 18th. Nidalap, who was 19th, and he has a one grid place penalty as well. B-Cliff Cinderfell and Nat, who didn't look like he set the time, so hopefully he's still going to be around for the race, and that completes your grid lineup.
Excellent. So here we advance onto the race session. The drivers still get their 2 minutes to basically prepare themselves, make sure they got the correct setup applied for the sprint race that we have here. It's going to be 10 racing laps in total. Should last in around 20 odd minutes. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see who can get the jump off the line. I know that Strongest Avenger starting in 4th position in the Aston Martin. That is a difficult car to launch from a standstill. I imagine the two Ginettas, will be pretty strong off the lights and out of the grid box. So I need to keep a close eye on those. But yeah, with that open run up towards turn 1, how do you think Dynamite Alive is going to play his run up there and try and defend that that race lead?
Well, with it, A, it's uphill, and B, that Apex tightens very much so. He's just got to keep out of trouble. He's not, again, it's such a cliche, we know, but you can't win the race in the first corner. As you say, those Ginettas will probably be looking forward to this. It's a new scenario for most of these drivers because, of course, in the first 2 rounds, you came off a rolling start off the formation lap. So the fact that they've now got to do a standing start, I wonder how many of these drivers would have practiced for that as well, especially some of the new guys. So it's going to be very interesting. But I think those 2 Lamborghinis at the front, if they can get if they lead out of the first corner, it's going to be very tough for anybody to catch them, I think, considering the pace. But those top 4, that's going to be the fight. It all just depends on the start.
Yep, very much so. I imagine those drivers who do plenty of online public lobby racing will probably be pretty well practiced in terms of launching the cars, as most of those tend to be from a standing start. But here we go then. Cars getting ready. Game just syncing up. And here we go. The countdown sequence just waiting for the green light. There it is. We're underway racing with this first race. Dynamite Alive looking like he got a phenomenal launch off the line. Lumi going defensive to Jorguk, squeezing him over to the inside. Bogue France is also in there. Strongest Avenger has had a reasonable start off the line as well. He's around the outside of Jorguk, coming down the hill down towards turn 2. Just seeing Tripp and Tony Clifton in the background side by side. But it looks like the top 4 pretty much lead as they were, I think. Yeah, Strongest Avenger holding on to that 3rd position from Jorguk. Speedy Goes managed to get himself up 1 position, dropping Bogue France down into 6th position. There is Tony Clifton just ahead of Tripp in that Renault. Then the 2 Mercedes boys just behind them. But it looks like things have settled down quite nicely. No one really dropping too far off the back and getting caught up in any spin. So it looked like a pretty tidy first sector from everybody here.
Well, Strongest Avenger started 4th, didn't he? So he's made up a position off Jorguk off the start. So good start for the championship leader, as Bosch Franz looks like he's going side by side with Speedy Go, and the top speed of that Mercedes, he should be passed before they get to the braking zone at the end of this long straight. But yes, very clean start. It doesn't seem like we've had many incidents because you can always tell just by how close all the drivers are. So a clean start, and Bosch Franz passed one of the Ginettas. Can he now catch the other one?
Yeah, this is going to be the sector where Jorguk's going to be really pushing that Ginetta to try and keep pace with the 3 guys up in front. They've started to build a little bit of a gap, but he's got Bogue France coming up behind him, making a nice easy pass down that back straight, as we saw. Behind them, we've got Tony Clifton still, head of Tripp, leading Andrex, leading Alan. WMDR Martin there in 11th position with Astobo in 12th. It seems like Speedy Go is not wanting to let Bogue France run away too much, still keeping his car within a couple of car lengths, which is fairly good, but still things are looking nice, neat and tidy from pretty much the entire field. I haven't seen anyone drop off the back, as here we see the Dynamite Alive, our race leader, coming across the start-finish line to complete the first racing lap.
Yeah, good strong start. We were wondering how the 2 Lamborghinis would do from a standing start, and the answer was, well, Dynamite Alive got a dynamite launch. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist that. But he had a flying start. By the time he got to the first corner, he didn't have to worry about defending. He just had to pick the apex, pick his braking point, and he was clear. But Lumi is just hanging on to his teammate a little bit here. Of course, with it being just 10 laps, if you're going to make moves, you've got to make them very quickly in this race.
Yep, definitely. Although I imagine these drivers probably won't be too worried about trying to gain too many positions. They'll probably be quite happy with the points that they pick up. And then obviously with the reverse grid order, that'll put them in pretty good stead for the second race. Just seeing in the foreground, Bogue France coming very much under threat from Speedy Go. And in fact, actually, Yorgok's managed to get past Strongest Avenger. Oh, Speedy Go well out wide there off the exit of turn 11. That's not going to help him coming down this straight. That's going to leave him very vulnerable to Tony Clifton behind. I think he's starting to close up in the draft. Will Tony go for the slingshot and try and make the pass down the inside? He's certainly looking for the move. Speedy Go starting to squeeze him over, shuts the door at the apex and prevents any overtaking opportunity there for Tony to slip up the inside. Just behind them as well, Trip being put under pretty heavy pressure from Andrex. Alan also lurking just off the tail of his teammate's car, waiting for any potential mistake. Andrex almost having to look down the inside of the hairpin at slow corner of turn 16, but wasn't quite able to do anything with it, with Trip slamming that door shut in his face.
Yeah, as you say, Yorgok has got up into third place. We keep reveling about how well he's doing, but of course you've got to. That Ginetta, well, most of us thought that it would struggle initially, but he's told us in the past that it's mainly about the drivability. And to get himself up into third place, it's going to be tough for him to stick with the two Lamborghinis out front, but you know, probably expect miracles of him now. But I think he'll be very content that he's ahead of the championship leader.
Yeah, be definitely happy with that. He'll be looking to try and repeat his previous lap coming through this SS section, try and close up that 1 second gap to Lumi in front as we jump towards Trip, who's in a bit of a sandwich. Nice train of cars flowing through here. Looks like he's playing it relatively safe and staying away from the curbs, and that's actually paying dividends for him a little bit as he was closing up on Tony Clifton going through those sequence of corners there, setting himself up in a very nice position to try and potentially make a move coming into the braking zone of turn 11. If not there, he'll be wanting to try and grab that slipstream of the Renault in front and see if he can do something into the braking zone for turn 12.
Find this corner. This is such a crucial braking zone. If you make a mistake there, you're so vulnerable as you head down the back straight. We saw that with the fight between Bogue France and Speedy Go, but this is going to be Trip's best chance now. He's got the slipstream. Let's see how close he can get as they come down here to the end of this long straight. It looks like he may try and have a go up the inside. Is he going to be late enough on the brakes? They're going to come to blows. They're very close, but oh, it just pushed Tony Clifton out a little bit wide. Trip still there round the outside, and this is opening the door for Alan. Now he's trying to get on the action as well. This is a very nice scrap, this, for 7th place.
Yep, definitely. I saw Alan closing up on the split time as well, going down that back straight, obviously making use of the top speed of that Mercedes. In the background there, As Turbo's managed to get himself ahead of WMDR Martin as those two drivers are at the back of this train. As Trip is getting very sideways, loose rear end there coming out the exit of the long right-hander. Alan trying to sniff and find a way past. He's on the outside coming into the last turn. Trip letting him go. I think Andrex is now on the outside there as they go side by side. Plenty of room being given between the two. That's gone and allowed Tony Clifton to pull out a fair gap there as Alan is now trying to run away a little bit as Andrex is still trying to find a way past the Lamborghini driver. He's trying to do it around the outside of turn 1. Truck gives him room as Andrex gives room there at the apex. Is Andrex got his nose up alongside coming through turn 2? No, Andrex having to slot in behind for the moment as Trip nosed ahead and manages to hold onto that 9th position for now, but he'll definitely be feeling the pressure as the rear of his car still sliding and squirreling around, almost breaking away there through the SS section, and Andrex has managed to snuck through with that mistake.
Yeah, it wasn't a particularly clean end to the lap, was it, for Trip? He's lost a couple of positions from when he was looking to attack Tony Clifton, but it's a very nice scrap. It's always good when you get these groups of 3 or 4 cars, because if one car makes a mistake, surely you're going to have a couple who will profit from that. I was trying to pick up that battle behind. I think it was, who was that just lurking in the background? Oh, it was Stefan Curry and Kiranik, which I think the Lamborghini jumped up the inside as they went into that braking zone before the long back straight.
Yeah, it seems like they've got a reasonable gap between back from them, as well as Trip very much under pressure from As Turbo, and also WMDR Martin, who's looking down the inside of the McLaren driver. Is he going to be able to pull off the move here as we come through the stadium section of series of switchback slow speed hairpins? Now Martin slots in at the back of the train, but as you say, we've got Kieran and also Stephen Curry coming up behind them at a fair rapid rate. There you can see a number of different lines from the drivers coming through turns 17 and 18. A bit of aero wash for them as well, which certainly wouldn't have helped. You can see Tony Clifton and Alan disappearing off into the distance as Andrex is struggling to pull away from Trip a little bit here at this this halfway stage, as we're just beginning lap 5 now, as it looks like, I think, Trip in the distance trying to make the move on Tony Clifton. Just going through turn 1. No, it wasn't. It was the next cars in front. Alan and Alan and Tony Clifton, sorry.
Yeah, no, but, well, we got a bit of a spread out the front now, but the front 4 have broken away. But both Franz and Speedy Go, they're having a little bit of a fight. There's about a second, 2 seconds between them, I beg your pardon. But they're in a little group on their own in 5th and 6th. And then, of course, you have this battle then between Tony Clifton and Alan. So, fair few scraps going on, which is what we always like to see. And we're almost already at halfway in this race. There's been some fairly decent action, and this race is going through at a fairly rapid pace.
Yeah, definitely. That's one of the good things about this circuit, is it lends itself to a number of different cars in different areas. Here you can see the speed of the Aston Martin slipping past the not so quick Ginetta, or at least the Ginetta's not so quick in the straight line, but Jorgert may try and come back at Strongest Avenger in the braking zones, or certainly in this section. For now, the Aston Martin up onto that final podium spot as the 2 Lamborghinis are still in the positions that they started in at the beginning of this race. Here you can just see the grip of the Ginetta as he's looking down the inside, coming through turns 15 and 16. Strongest having to yield the room. Oh no, Jorgert's gone round. He's managed to keep it going and keep it out of the wall. Just rotated round a little bit too much there, possibly a little bit too much curb on the inside that unsettled the car, but he's now very much under threat from Bogue France, who's there on the outside there. We can see him, but Bogue in that Mercedes running out of room, not quite able to make the move work. But yeah, Jorgert's going to be kicking himself over that one a little bit, as he was very much up the inside there of Strongest Avenger, and he possibly could have held on to onto that 3rd position and that final podium spot.
Yeah, as I said, probably took a little bit too much of the inside curve, and it just put the back end out of the car. As I said, it was a shame. He just lost the position. He was probably, well, not desperate, but he probably wanted to make that position back as quickly as possible. It looked as if he'd sort of pushed Strongest Avenger, not pushed as in illegally, but just forced the Aston Martin a little bit wide and had the correct line out of there, but unfortunately just lost the back end, and he's now back into the clutches of Bogue France. I would expect that Jorgert will pull away, as he seems to be doing already, but I think that hope of a podium is now, sadly for him, gone.
Yeah, he's almost pulled out a second just going through that first sector alone. So Jorgert obviously got the car underneath him in the corners. It's just that straight line speed and that back straight just being a little bit too long. Here we can see WMDR Martin still at the back of the train with As Turbo just in front, and Trip in the Lamborghini with Andrex at the head of this 4-car procession. Up in front, it looks like Alan's managed to get ahead of Tony Clifton for that 7th position. But WMDR Martin, a resident pad driver, wagging the windscreen wiper back and forth, still trying to find a way past As Turbo, but I think he needs to get a little bit closer before he can really mount that challenge. Fairly close coming off the exit of turn 12, and he's looking down the inside here, coming into 13. As Turbo just about conceding enough room to avoid making contact, but that was a very close call, almost came from nothing. But Martin trying to make the move work for himself, and it almost paid off for him there.
Yeah, it looked like it was going to be a bit of a lunge, wasn't it? But they both managed to give each other just the right amount of space. As you say, through here, the car that's travelling, who's chasing, I should say, has to take that tighter line to make sure they get round that long right-hander. As you say, with the aero wash coming off these cars, it does cause a little bit of instability. But this is a fairly tight battle, although this little group now seems to have spaced out a little bit. So those early fights we had, although up ahead.
Yep.
I don't know who that was. Was it Alan and Tony Clifton, or was it the two behind?
It's Andrex and Tripp.
Andrex and Tripp, yeah.
Yeah, getting fairly close. Tripp trying to find a way past Andrex. So still very much defensive at the moment. A very wise head on the shoulders of that Scotsman in that Mercedes. Tripp can be quite aggressive when he wants to, but he's measured aggressive, so he will go for the move, and Andrex is obviously very much aware of that. But both the two drivers have been in the AOR GT3 League for quite some time. They know what each other are like, and because of that, and the respectable racing that they've had in the past, they obviously continue to show respect towards each other, and sometimes can hold yourself up a little bit as Martin goes for a nice lovely lunge down the inside of As Turbo there into turn 11 and made that one work for himself quite nicely, and Tripp has actually managed to get up alongside Andrex. It's a drag race between the two coming down the long back straight down towards that 12th corner.
Let's see if he can be brave enough on the brakes here. Tripp, he's got the inside line. Ooh, they looked as if they sort of braked at the same time. He's still there on the inside. He doesn't push Andrex too far on the outside. Andrex has the inside line now. They're still side by side as they come through the stadium section. That Lamborghini's got the inside line though as it comes to the left-hander, and he does just about make the move stick. But I don't think this battle's over by any stretch of the imagination.
No, I imagine this one's going to go on pretty much all the way to the flag. Martin still holding on to that position ahead of As Turbo as well. Managed to outrun him down the straight and defend appropriately. He's having to defend a tiny little bit coming in towards the braking zone and the turning point for the penultimate turn there. Again, positioning his car a little bit defensively coming into the final corner. As Turbo not yet quite able to find a way to get back past, but it's certainly there lurking. Martin making the move early to defend that inside line, forcing As Turbo to go to the outside. He retakes the racing line. Martin is there somewhere on the inside. There he is as the camera pans round and we pick up both the two drivers. This is obviously dropping them off the back of the battle between Tripp and Andrex up ahead, bringing them more into the clutches of Stefan Curry and Kieran behind. At the moment they don't seem quite close enough to do anything and really put too much to that, although I think that's a pretty big mistake there from As Turbo going in through turn 3 and 4, and it's dropped them off the back of the car ahead and into the clutches of our lead coordinator.
Yeah, he just ran a little bit wide, didn't he, through the sort of the middle part of the S's, and it's just dropped him off the back of WMDR Martin as well, and Stefan Carey. A little bit late on the brakes, but he's managed to get that slowed down just. And he's run a little bit wide over the curbs. Of course, you have to wonder about the track limits as well. At some point, you really don't want to get a slow down penalty, especially if you're chasing, because you want to have a good run down the straight. But looks like we've got a battle a little bit further down.
Yeah, it's Andrex and Alan, the two of them side by side going for the apex of 12. As we said, this battle is certainly not over and we'll be going to the flag. Tripp holding out onto that 9th position for the moment, keeping Andrex there in 10th, who's done a little bit of a switchback there coming off the exit of 15 and 16, but wasn't quite enough to draw up alongside a Lamborghini in front. So just follow each other through the long right-hander now into the penultimate turn once again, and Andrex for the beginning of the second to last lap of the race, be looking at the back of the Lamborghini on the run up the hill towards that first corner.
Yeah, said it wasn't over, and this will go down to the flag. As you say, he's not got the best of runs. He could show his nose up the inside, but decides not to. Tripp taking a slightly tighter line. The thing is, with this downhill section now, as it swoops down to the right-hand side, you've really got to be really alongside or ahead if you're going to make a move down there. So I would imagine now his next chance is going to be into the braking zone before the long back straight. But to keep in there, he's still right on the tail of the Lamborghini as they come through the S's section. So he's going to set himself up for that long back straight. It's one of these conundrums. Would you rather be ahead going onto that back straight or behind when you get onto the final lap?
Oh, that's a very good question. I usually prefer being behind. I usually prefer being the hunter rather than being the hunted. And you can see that Andrex had a slightly different approach through the S's section in comparison to Trip. Trip being a little bit more cautious, staying off the curves, whereas Andrex is making use of them, and you can see that he managed to close the gap down. He's there or thereabouts coming down this back straight, but didn't have the best of runs coming off the exit of turn 11. I think the Lamborghini's got some superior traction to it, which has been a bit of a saving grace, and not really allowed Andrex to draw up alongside to really make a threat coming into the braking zone for turn 12. So he's following him through the stadium section for the moment. Barely anything between the two cars though. So they come now into the awkward left-handed hairpin, and just in front we can see, and also here, Tony Clifton. He's dropped off the back of Alan by a fair amount, and has kind of fallen into the clutches of these two. So there may potentially be an additional position on the cards for Trip if you can really hook up the next lap and really be there, kind of in those key braking zones.
Still got the three behind as well. They're still embroiled in this battle for 11th place. We've got WMDR Martin, As Turbo and Stefan Carey as well. They're all within a few tenths of each other. So we're going to have a fight between Andrex and Trip, and basically all the cars from 9th to 13th are in a fight. Just two separate ones, really.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be quite difficult to keep an eye on this battle here, and also the other one, and of course the race leaders as well. They're up at turn 11 at the moment, just coming onto the back straight now. This is the final lap of the race. Ooh, that is Stefan Curry going straight across the S section there. Obviously messed up his approach into turns 3 and 4 and decided to take the safer option and cut straight across. Here we see Andrex trying to close up on Trip and see if he can get a decent run to be there when it comes to the back straight. It's not quite as close as he was on the previous lap, so his opportunity may have slipped from his grasp a little bit. It all depends on how he apexes that corner, which he does quite well. But again, like I said on the previous lap, the Lamborghini has got the drive and the traction off the slow corners, and ekes out those couple of car lengths once more. But now this is the territory where the Mercedes SLS starts to come in. You can see he's starting to close up in the slipstream, but not too much, not anywhere near enough to be making the move coming into the braking zone for turn 12. So they follow each other through at the moment, but Trip's very much aware that Andrex is right there on the rear bumper. So you can see on the map the race leaders just coming into the final corner now. There is Dynamite alive. He's just ahead of his teammate Lumi. So from lights to flag, Dynamite alive comes away with the race win for this first round. He'll be starting from the back of the grid with Lumi in second, starting just ahead of him in second to last. Strongest Avenger picks up the final podium spot in the end. There is Yogurt in the Ginetta. Unfortunate for him with that slight mistake in the spin that he had whilst trying to hold on to that final podium spot. He comes home in fourth, with Bogue France having a strong showing, coming home in fifth position. Speedy Go just about managing to hold out ahead of Alan for sixth. So Alan there in 7th. There's Tony Clifton coming across the line in 8th. Andrex wasn't able to do anything with regards to passing Trip. So Trip holds on to 9th with Andrex in 10th. Looks like As Turbo came alone in 11th position with WMDR Martin just behind in 12th. And then it'll be Stefan Curry, our league coordinator, there in 13th position. Kieran in the first of the Audi R8 comes home in 14th. Natnat in the Ferrari 488 comes home in 15th position. Haven't really seen too much of him this evening, nor have we seen too much of Jack Game since the start of the stream. He comes home in 16th position. Zenzik in one of the Audis comes home in 17th position, with Tomic there in 18th place. We've got Big Cliff coming home just ahead of his teammate Luke in 20th position and 21st respectively. Then Sinterfell comes home in 22nd position. I don't know. He's actually crossed the start-finish line yet. He might have done. It might have just been going backwards after we went across the line. But yeah, that's pretty much your results from race 1.
Yeah, we didn't really pay much attention to the penalties, were we? We were looking so much at the action. So Dynamite Alive wins from Lumi. and Strongest Avenger completing your top 3. So now, as they set up the lobby, we will have a reverse grid. Cinderfell retired, actually. So, but he will be starting from the front. It's going to be an interesting race. As this is the best part about it, I feel, with these reverse grids. We're going to see the cars that are, slower than what we see from the championship contenders, but we'll see if they can hold on to some very solid points. So while we wait for them to set up the lobby, what do you think? Perfect display from the 2 Lamborghinis?
Yeah, it was pretty much flawless for them. As you saw, Dynamite Alive having a phenomenal start off the line. He was able to hold on to that lead going into the first corner with relative ease, not really worrying too much about being too defensive. And then, Lumi did a fairly good job of holding it around the outside and holding off the threat of Yogurt and Strongest Avenger. And then once it got through that first corner, I think it was fairly smooth and safe sailing for the 2 Lamborghini drivers. So be interesting to see how those guys handle coming back up through the field here in our feature race, which will be starting very, very shortly.
Yeah, I think considering the strength of those 2 Lamborghinis, Strongest Avenger will be very happy to have come home in 3rd place. That pretty much maintains most of his championship lead. The one man who did very well, actually, was Boge Franz. We didn't see much of him. He was pretty much on his own for most of the race, although he was involved with that little fight with Speedy Go throughout the race as well. He came home in 5th place, I believe he came home in. So I think he came home exactly where he started. So he'll be very happy with that result. What do you think of these reverse grid races? Is there anybody that you've seen so far that could probably maintain their position? Because there's always one, isn't there? There's always one driver that, especially in these reverse grid formats, you don't see much pace from them, but they're able to stay there through most of the race, mainly by not making any mistakes.
Yeah, it's there's a few drivers kind of come to mind. Atomic, Kieran, they could be both in pretty good positions to work their way up through the field. It'll be interesting to see how Cinderfell does here in this race, because we haven't seen too much of him this season, and I don't think his results have been quite as representative of what he is capable of. Obviously, Jack Game coming from Tier 1 on the previous, Tier 2 from the previous season. Be interesting to see what kind of pace he has in comparison to some of the other guys here in Tier 1. But it'll be interesting to see who goes aggressive from the back of the field and will be wanting to work their way through the field fairly quickly. Obviously, we saw last week Lumi was really trying to put some moves on some of the back markers going over the top of the mountain. So I imagine that he'll probably be looking to try and get through the field as quickly as possible. But some of the other drivers may choose to go for a bit more of a steady approach. But yeah, there's quite a few questions to be asking coming here into this second of the 2 races that we're seeing. And at the moment, you're just seeing the championship standings that we had coming into the 2 races here this evening. Obviously, this hasn't been updated from race 1. I'm not quite a wizard and can't quite quickly update that on the fly, but obviously coming into the 3rd round, we'll have the updated standings for you after this evening's 2nd race.
Yeah, I think when we were talking about the likes of Jack Game and Kieran, sometimes you find that drivers, when they're at the front of the field, they can find their rhythm a little bit more. They can find their natural pace. Maybe they can be a little bit quicker. But sometimes you get into a good fight with one of the leading drivers, and for some reason, you don't know why, but you can match their pace as well. It's all about not copying them, but finding an inspiration from them. Maybe looking at their lines, how they apply themselves through the corners, the lines they take. So really, it could be a bit of a learning experience for some of these drivers and could really benefit them in the future.
Yeah, definitely. It's obviously a good way to kind of gain a little bit of confidence if you possibly can. It'll also be interesting to see the approach that the drivers will take, because usually in some of the longer races, if you have a faster driver come up behind you and you're kind of in the early phase of the race, you don't really want to defend against them too hard, as you'll probably end up losing too much time in doing so and kind of hurt your overall result come later on in the race. But in this kind of format, obviously the drivers will be leaning towards being a little bit more defensive of, and obviously trying to hold those faster drivers coming through, because once they have done so, it is it's difficult for them to try and claw that pace position back. As I've also just found out that there is no mandatory pit stop here in this feature race, but we're back to the grid and we're live. The drivers just have their 2 minutes grace period just to double check their settings and everything, make sure they're all good. We've got 24 drivers back in the... 22 drivers still in the lobby, which is nice. But once the green light goes in just a second, we'll begin our manual formation lap, where obviously the drivers will coordinate themselves into the correct standing order for this race.
Yeah, that's one of the tension builders as well, I found, especially last season when we had one of the reverse grid races, is when you're getting yourself into the positions now as most of the drivers, as you say, Cinderfell, he's going to be he'll be feeling the butterflies as he makes his way to the front of the grid to start from pole. And of course, being the lead driver, it's down to him when he decides he wants to start the race and floor the throttle. So really, it's really building the tension between these drivers. Obviously, some of them are more experienced than others as well. So really looking forward to this now. And I'm very interested to see how the two Lambos come through from the back, considering the pace they had in the first race. It's a bit like watching Mercedes in Formula One a little bit, actually.
It is a little bit. Perhaps they can use this as a bit of like a testing ground as to see how these reverse grid orders kind of work with the faster guys coming through from the front. I hope that Cinderfell knows the start procedure and knows where the formation and acceleration zone actually are. I'm sure he does. Yeah, obviously I'll be looking to him to see how he manages the pressure at the beginning of the race. So here, the sea of cars parts to either side of the circuit, just allows all the drivers to basically drive down the middle without fear of bumping into any other cars around them, and allows them to just organise themselves quite nicely. That's one of the cars going through there. Is Cinderfell actually in the session? Yes, he is. There he is, at the back.
Yes, he is. Perhaps there were some penalties that we didn't pick up on, perhaps.
Maybe. The only thing I'm potentially thinking is that because he retired from the race rather than actually finishing, he is going to be starting from the back of the grid, which is going to be a real shame, because it would have been great to have seen him lead from the front, but it looks like that Luke is going to be our leader for this feature race here.
Yes, my apologies. I forgot, if you're retired, you're not technically classified, are you? So you don't get your position reversed. So it's down to Luke instead. He has the honour to lead the cars around. There will be at some point during this first sector now where he will pull up and allow the cars behind to form up. I believe that's how the system is working anyway. That's how we did it last season. Has that changed at all? Is he supposed to be stopping at some point?
It'll probably be the end of the first sector, they usually say, to stop, but he's going at a slow enough pace that should allow everyone to form on through, and also prevent, or kind of mitigate the worry of them losing temperature in the tyres. I'm not entirely sure what actually happened to Cinderfell in the previous races. He was there at the last corner. I hope that he didn't run out of fuel and spin and stall in the last turn. But yeah, we saw him. He was pretty much there. He just didn't cross the line unless he just stopped too early. But yeah, now we see the drivers obviously parking up and waiting for the guys to form up at the back of the train.
I'm guessing Stefan's a little bit further up, but because he's coordinating this, he'll probably take his position a little bit further up. Because he certainly didn't finish last, did he?
No, yeah, he would have been reading out the order for the grid, so we'll see him probably overtake a few people here and move into the correct position that he's meant to be starting from, and then the field will get rolling. So he's basically in and around there now. There we go.
And now they can start the formation lap proper as Luke goes away. So they would have been sitting there for a few seconds, losing some temperature in those tyres. They've got to work that back up. We haven't seen much of Luke or B Cliff behind, so here's your chance, guys. Let's see what you've got.
Yep, it's only your time to shine. So Nidlap there behind B Cliff's teammate. See that doing a fairly good job at the moment. There's Atomic, who was present last season, has managed to find a load of pace in comparison to last season. He'll be looking for a pretty strong start here to try and get himself into an early lead if he possibly can before some of the faster guys behind come up. Here is Jack Game, one of the drivers who was promoted up from Tier 2 from last season after the strong result. And Nat in the Ferrari. There's only 2 Ferraris in this league, Nat and Nini. It's quite interesting, as they were a very, very popular car when when Project Cars 2 first came out. It actually got banned for a couple of seasons before it got allowed back by the coordinators after people basically found their way with other cars and learned that the Ferrari wasn't quite so OP.
So we'll just have a quick look at the back of the grid. Of course, Dynamite Alive starting in 21st position as the winner of the previous race. As you say, it's going to be interesting to see their approaches to the start of the race as Luke now brings them round to form up before the start of this now 20-lap race.
Yep, it's good to see that. Looks like Luke has paid attention to the rules of the manual formation lap and knows where the zones are. So I know some drivers, particularly those who aren't necessarily always at the head of the field, actually read and pay attention to where the zones are and everything else like that, and sometimes these starts can be a little bit messy. Like Luke is meant to be a little bit further over to the left over the grid boxes, but it is basically now that he's actually gone at the earliest opportunity that he could to begin racing. Him and B Cliff have gone and jumped pretty much the entirety of the field and got a nice gap between the two of them. Nice clean run coming up towards turn 1 between those guys. Nidalap, oh, got contact there between himself and Atomic. He goes round, he's doing exactly the right thing, holding the brakes and staying there, remaining stationary in the middle and waiting for everyone to go past. Oh, that's really unfortunate. He couldn't quite get the car turned around. The hill just sloping away there at the inside, making it real difficult for him to get back out onto the circuit. But he's going to be pretty frustrated with that. I think it was just a slight bump from Atomic at the apex, but B Cliff and Luke running away with this race at the moment at the early stage. 2 to 2.5 seconds between P2 and P3. That's going to relieve a little bit of pressure from those two guys, and they'll be laughing with that, but a few drivers will be a little bit frustrated, a little bit flustered, and yeah, the pressure is on.
It's helped them, hasn't it? That little bit of contact we saw between the Mercedes and the Lamborghini has just given them a little bit of a break. Luke's just got the gap now, just over 0.7 of a second, sorry. But let's see Dynamite Alive is already up into 17th place, so he's had a good start. What about the rest?
Lumi's up into 13th.
Oh, and B Cliff just losing it a little bit there as we have some cars side by side going through.
Oh, contact
in the back there.
I think that's Bogue France. I think Bogue France got a knock and ended up going off wide on the exit of turn 12. He's managed to recover back onto the circuit, but he's behind the likes of WMDR Martin, Lumi, Dynamite Alive, and Strongest Avenger. WMDR Martin not having the best of starts, but I guess letting the faster guys through fairly early will allow you to keep up with them and try and follow them through the field, as Jokuk has got the rear end hanging out, coming through the long right-hander there. So we're riding on board with Bogue France at the moment. Martin Amelot down the inside of Strongest Avenger. Doesn't quite have the overlap. It's going to be there looking to the inside coming into the final turn. They give each other the racing room that is needed. This is going to allow Yogurt to tuck in quite nicely onto the back of one of these two cars coming down this start finish straight up towards the first turn. Few cars up ahead as well, also going side by side. This is usually the frantic manic starts that we tend to have with these reverse grid orders. A lot of the drivers trying to work their way through, so we've got multiple battles throughout the field. It's going to be difficult to try and choose who we follow, but at the moment still Strongest Avenger just about managing to hold off WMDR Martin and Yogurt following behind.
Oh, they're just getting the tails out a little bit there through the S's as well, but this is what we were expecting. The faster guys getting caught up in amongst the midfielders. But this is what we want to see. We want to see some good, clean, but tough racing as well. And who has made the best starts of the guys who were at the front?
Lumi by 5, he's up into P5 already.
Up into 5th place. Wow, what a start from him. And of course now he's clear of that big train of cars behind. He's going to be certainly pushing out. I could see him winning this race from here.
Yep, with the start that he's had, I did say he'll probably be one of those drivers who will go aggressive at the start and try and make as many positions as possible. We saw his aggressive style from Bathurst, which paid off quite nicely for him, allowed him to work through the traffic reasonably quickly. There was a couple of places where he did have to back out and sit behind. There was that contact between As Turbo and Dynamite Alive there. I'm not entirely sure the two are continuing on for the moment, but Tripp is in a big gaggle of cars here. He's got one of the Ferraris just up in front of him, as well as Speedy Go, who's there looking down the inside of Nat coming into the turn 16. Not quite able to do anything with it, but that's quite a big side swipe between the two cars there. I'm not entirely sure if Nat actually knew Speedy Go was up alongside. Speedy Go way out wide there on the exit of the long right-hander. That's going to be Tripp going on through, unless he can hold it down the inside coming into the penultimate turn. Outbreaking himself a little bit there, forcing Tripp out wide. He won't be too happy with that. That's Alan there in the Mercedes, and that's kind of actually condensed the two big gaggles of cars that we had and kind of merged them all into one big group.
This is great stuff, isn't it? We've had that side swipe from Nat. Don't know whether he lost the car and just pushed himself out a little bit wide, and Speedy Go was there. We'll see what happens in the stewards after the race. But Strongest Avenger still there fighting with Tony Clifton. He'll be wanting to make up a few more positions as well. This little gaggle of 4 or 5 cars. Oh, it's Clifton spinning in the background.
Yep, I think all the cars managed to avoid making contact with him. He's just letting the car roll back, which is pretty good. That was Sinfandel going through the picture there, and that's Tony Clifton all the way down to the back of the grid. As that was Nidalap, who went through, had a spin at the on the first turn. He's actually working his way back up towards the tail end of the pack with everyone else fighting off in front of him. Here we see Lumi right on the back of second position.
Yeah, second place.
Wow, he got through the field a little bit quicker than I was expecting.
Here he goes then. He probably realises now he's in such a good position. Oh, and I don't know whether that was a touch or whether Stefan just lost it a little bit, but they both got a little bit sideways in, and Lumi is already up into second place. We're already on the 4th lap.
Yeah, he's making very quick work of the rest of the grid. Not going to be too long before he's up onto the rear end of Luke. There is B Cliff. He was down in second position previously and has dropped down a few positions. I think possibly a mistake on the previous lap, or potentially trying to clear a penalty and lost a whole heap of time and positions. He's kind of in a bit of no man's land at the moment. Jack Game, well, that goes a Hot Wheel sign. Jack Game just under a second up ahead, and then it was Atomic who was about a second and a half behind. Here we see Dynamite Alive, currently in 7th position, looking at the back of Atomic on the run up towards the first corner. He's closing as we come up towards the braking zone, and surely he's going to be nipping up the inside here in at the apex, managing to get the car slowed down and parking it quite nicely to prevent Atomic from making a switchback on him. We've got Speedy Go into the pit lane there. Interesting. Potentially repairing some damage, or change of tyres, or maybe just picking up a little bit more fuel if if he's fearing that he's not going to be able to make it with the fuel that he started the race on.
Here's Lumi. He's already going for the race lead. Is he going to try and stick it down the inside in that fast left-hander? And Lumi is up into the race lead. And the Lambos are making light work of this because Dynamite Alive is in 6th place as well. But stonking 5 laps already from Lumi, who's already got himself to the front.
Yeah, I think he might have benefited from possibly the spin at the start, possibly picking up a couple of positions there as people were trying to make avoiding action. Now it's going to be Luke. He needs to have a bit of a wise head and see if he can try and hang with Lumi without losing too many more positions, as Alan is looking down the inside of Ast Turbo coming into the braking zone for turn 12. He's not going to, or is he going to go for the lunge down the inside of Kieran, side by side between the two? No, sorry, Zenzik. Kieran is the next Audi just up in front. Ast Turbo is trying to sweep around the outside there of Zenzik, who's very much under threat. He's got Jorguk and Ast Strongest Avenger also trying to sweep on through. That looked like that was not Nini. Nat, who's spinning in the background in the Ferrari. Strongest Avenger is on through. There he is, having recovered back to the track just ahead of Sinterfeld, and then behind him at the very back of the grid will be Speedy Go and Tony Clifton. But here is that gaggle of cars. Jorguk looking down the inside of Zenzik, coming into the final corner, obviously wanting to try and keep up with Strongest Avenger and work through the field just as quickly. But at the moment, haven't quite been able to gain as many positions quite as quick as the two Lamborghini drivers.
No, absolutely not. But got a good fight here for 2nd place between Luke and Stefan. I think, was Luke running in 2nd place? No, it was Stefan. He was, wasn't he? Yes. Yeah, so Stefan got past. Must have done that towards the end of the previous lap, or even down the pit straight as well. But they're still there. They're still there in 2nd and 3rd place. Jack Game just behind them as well. But he has got Dynamite Alive all over the back of him now, who will be looking to pace with his teammate as he looks to dive to the inside. Jack gives him enough space. Let's see. He's probably got the better run out of the corner. And Dynamite Alive, following his teammate, is up into 4th place.
Yeah, this is kind of the interesting dynamic, obviously, with the faster guys trying to come through the field. They're obviously looking to try and be as aggressive as possible and try and get through the field as quickly as possible to try and give them the best chances of getting a potential race win or a podium. But Alan, I'm going to look at the back of Atomic and also Kieran Nick as well, and actually just behind is Jorguk going down the inside of Strongest Avenger down the long back straight. What a move that would have been with the Janetta trying to pick up the slipstream there of the V12 in comparison to the V6. Double the number of Vs as Strongest Avenger getting a little bit loose there going through turns 13 and 14, managed to hold on to it though. But Jorguk now up into P11. But yeah, as I was saying, obviously the faster guys trying to come through the field as quickly as possible. They're going to be aggressive, but those drivers who are starting at the head of the field and may not necessarily be quite as quick, they want to try and hold on to the positions that they have, but they will also want to try and minimize the risk of contact and dropping down through the field. So they're kind of, if they see another driver be aggressive, they tend to, be a little bit more submissive and kind of let the move happen and not really fight it too much, and in doing so they can lose positions with relative ease.
Yeah, here's Alan. He's just gone up the inside of Atomic into the first corner. But yeah, Jorguk as well, now trying to get past Atomic in the background, and Strongest Avenger is there as well. Just needs to stick with him a little bit sideways from Jorguk, although he doesn't seem too bothered about having the tail out of that car, does he? We saw him going through the fast right-hander towards the end of the lap, and he doesn't mind the back end a little bit loose, it seems, and it looks as if here it's just a matter of time. He goes round the outside and moves up into 10th place. That was a brilliant move.
That was a absolutely phenomenal move there. Well played by Atomic to hold his line as well and hold it nice and tight to kind of help facilitate that one. And now Strongest Avenger managing to capitalise and slip on through down into the apex of 11. But yeah, good bold move by Jorguk, trusting the car and trusting the driver there on his inside. We've got jack game here. He's closing up on Luke, just up in front. So he's now down into 4th position. Dynamite Alive now up into the final podium spot, and Andrex there in 6th position, just about 2 seconds off the back in the background. He'll be in the next car that's going to be come up behind this gaggle of drivers, but at the moment Lumi running away with it, almost 6 seconds out ahead of Stephen Curry in 2nd position.
Yeah, these cars still very much close together from pretty much 10th down to 15th as we look at Tripp, who is currently running in 13th place. He's got As Turbo behind him and Atomic just ahead of him. I'm just going to check to see, because we've got a couple of drivers that have got, looks like we've got penalties as well. Stefan's carrying a 2-second penalty, and so is Cliff and Speedy Go at the back as well, although I'm not sure whether that would have been of his own doing with some of the incidents he's been caught up in. As it looks like we've got Yogurt moving up into 8th place. I think one of the, was either Kieranich may have got in deep as he gives a bit of a swipe to Strongest Avenger.
Yeah, I think there was a little bit of contact there, possibly not quite realising that Strongest was on his outside. I did see a puff of smoke going in through the apex of Turn 1, which I think may have come from Kieranich, although I'm not 100% sure on that. But yeah, as you say, Yogurt now up into 8th position. Strongest trying to follow him on through, but being stuck behind the Audi. It's, well, I was about to say struggling to find a way past, but is able to do so now, coming down into the braking zone for turn 11, taking that tighter line in towards the apex, but doubt that Kieranich is going to put up or let that one go too easily. Is trying to pick up the slipstream of Strongest Avenger, although Strongest pulling away with a drag race between Atomic and also Tripp. As Turbo also coming in as well, potentially making it 3 wide, kind of showing his nose in the middle, but not quite doing so, or he is doing so. It is 3 wide coming in towards turn 12. Tripp comes out the better of the 3 drivers on the inside, and with 3 wide once again coming into turn 13. Atomic on the inside, As Turbo the sandwich in the middle with Brogue France on the outside there. Somehow they all managed to get through without making any significant contact with each other. May have been just a slight door panel rub here or there, but nothing to upset any of the 3 cars. But Atomic losing 3 positions there in a number of corners, sequence of turns, and is now down into 14th position as Brogue France, As Turbo and Tripp have all gained places.
Fair play to As Turbo. He put his car in the middle of those 2, and he could very well have been squeezed out. They could have been contact, but the fact he made up a position at all from that position was just amazing from my perspective, really, as both fans may well have a go into turn 1. He shows in the nose. Now, unless he brakes really late, he's going to have a look up the inside, but As Turbo just stays ahead. But that was good driving from all of them. No contact, and very clean, but very tough racing.
Yep, drivers being nice, fair, and respectable is exactly what we'd like to see, and what the whole AOR League is based off of. We've got Yogurt now really putting the pressure on Alan, who's going to be going around the outside once again, coming in through turn 8 a little bit more, a little bit easier that one, as I think Alan was kind of slightly out of shape going through turn 7 and had lost the momentum, but now Yogurt's going to be very much under threat from the all the ponies that are underneath the bonnet of that Mercedes SLS, and you can see Yogurt immediately moving over to try and half break the toe, but also set him up for the defensive line on the run down towards turn 1, and you can see Alan just easing past, coming down the straight, but Yogurt there lurking on the inside, may go for a lunge down the inside, but Alan covers him off, swiping across his nose under braking there, which is kind of allowed to do. He did that in a nice straight line and made it fairly clear that that was his intention, so I don't see anything dirty there with that defensive manoeuvre.
No, absolutely not. He didn't swipe across him, did he? So he sort of glided across the track, which is respectable. As he said, he was moving across before they got to the braking zone, so Yogurt would have known what his intentions were as they go side by side again now. that superior grip of the Ginetta in the corners, giving him a chance. He goes down the inside, and he is looking very racy at the moment, Yogurt, and is now up into 7th place.
Yep, very nice switchback move there, and really putting the grip of that Ginetta to work. Though he's not at the best of runs coming off the final corner, and now Alan's starting to come back at him. He's forced to go to the outsiders once again. Jorgic going defensive to the inside line, but they are more alongside each other this time around coming into the braking zone, so Jorgic should hold on to this one, and if he's able to do so and keep his nose ahead coming into turn 3, I'm sure he'll probably start to pull away coming through the S section. It looks like he's done exactly that. So now Jorgic can breathe a little bit, focus his eyes forwards and not really worry about his mirrors too much. It's up ahead of him. He's got a battle between Jack Game, Luke, and also Andrex. So I think the three of them were kind of 3 wide going up towards the first corner, and Andrex getting the measure of the other 2 drivers has now got himself up into 4th position.
Yeah, Andrex on the move. He was in 6th place only a few corners ago, as you mentioned, but we were keeping our eye on the battle between the Ginetta and the Mercedes behind. Do you think Andrex could hold on to this top 4 place now? Could he even go try and catch Stefan up ahead of him, perhaps?
He's got 11-12 laps remaining. Stefan is, what, 5 seconds up the road. He could probably close that gap down, I would have thought, but it all depends on how quickly Jorgic can close up to the drivers in front. Andrex is worrying about his mirrors a little bit too much. That could hold his progress up, but I think Andrex has certainly got it in him to be able to close that gap down and try and pick up that final podium spot. It's a question of what the other drivers are doing behind him and how quickly they excuse me, almost losing my voice there. How quickly they can keep up.
Yeah, Jorgic catching them already, but this will be a little bit of a confidence builder for Jack Game and for Luke as well. You know, Jack's come into Tier 1, having finished runner-up, as he goes to the inside of the Audi. They just managed to keep themselves apart. Oh, a little bit of panel rubbing as they come out of the final corner. That will allow Jorgic a little bit of a run, but Jack has the inside line. If I were, well, it depends how racy Jorgic feels. I'd probably just let these 2 battle it out between the pair of them and try and nip past when you can, and Jack does move up into 5th place. He'll be feeling a little bit better. As I said, he moved up from Tier 2. And to be fair, he's been running in the top 5 now for most of this race. Yeah, he's now got Jorgic right behind him. This will be a little bit of a pressure situation for him, but he's driving reasonably well at the moment. And I think if he can hold on to at least the top 8 or a top 9 position, that would be a very good drive for him.
Yep, definitely. Jorgic again trying to go around the outside, coming through turn 8, not quite able to make it work this time, so settles in behind. They've actually managed to drop the guys behind, and for a moment Strongest Avenger was actually in 7th position. He is again, as Jorgic launching down the inside of Jack Game going into turn 11. It looks like he's managed to get the move done and dusted, so he's now up into 5th position. I think it's a bit of a flash of the lights there from Jorgic as to kind of say thank you. There is Luke. He's lost the position to both Alan and Strongest Avenger, who are now slipstreaming each other. Coming down the back straight, Strongest Avenger going for the lunge down the inside. Can he get the car slowed down enough at the apex? Camera being a little bit awkward for us there. We managed to pick up the roof camera once again. So we come now into 13, and it looks like Strongest Avenger has managed to get the move done and dusted. Alan almost showed his nose up the inside there, but Strongest closed that door fairly swiftly and didn't quite allow him to get up alongside and try and take the apex away. So the Aston Martin driver leads the Mercedes of Alan for the moment. We're seeing now Kiwanik over the back of Tripp, trying to hunt him down and see if he can close back up on that final 10th position.
Yeah, sorry for the camera work there. We had a little bit of problems following that action, but it was a good move by Strongest Avenger. Although I think, looking at it, he may have a time penalty as well. He's got a 2-second penalty as well, but I don't think he'd be too bothered about that. He's got the pace, and now he's got Jack just up ahead of him as well. Let's see. Yeah, he's still got Alan right behind him, But Strongest Avenger again be looking to break into the top 6. They've got a little bit of a gap up to Yogurt of about 3 seconds, who is now closing on Andrex.
Yep. So it's starting to tighten back up again after previously opening up a little bit. See a nice three-way fight at the moment. As you say, Jack Game coming under threat from Strongest Avenger, as they're starting to bang in some lap times that are more representative of their overall pace. And you can see Alan tucked right up into the slipstream of Strongest Avenger. He's actually got a double slipstream here. This could potentially be a 3 wide. No, Alan decides to back out of that one. Strongest trying to go around the outside of Jack Game. Will Jack Game concede the 2 positions? It looked like he is, and allows both Strongest and Alan to slip on through there without putting up too much of a fight, losing too much time. So those 2 drivers slip on through. There we see Jorgen. Wow, he's closed up onto the back of Andrex quickly, hasn't he?
Very much so. The pace of the Ginettas, it's such a shame that he had that moment in the first race, because his pace has been very strong. Yeah, not to the pace of the 2 Lamborghinis, but I think he was possibly set for a 3rd place until he made that slight mistake as he goes up the inside into the final corner and moves himself up into 4th place. The podium not out of his reach by any stretch of the imagination.
No, definitely not. I think Andrex has had an absolute nightmare somewhere along the line, because he's... no, maybe? No. Okay, I'm talking rubbish. I thought he was ahead of Stephen Curry, but I think I may have got those 2 drivers mixed up from earlier on. But I have to say, Jorgen definitely is not lying when he said that the Ginetta absolutely rockets off the corners, especially when he gets the thing really hooked up like he has been throughout this race. Just seems to trample away from other cars that may be struggling, don't quite have the grip or the downforce at the rear, and seems to be able to make some of these overtaking movers look fairly easy, even though I imagine they're probably not.
Well, especially this corner now where we're looking at Alan, and to be fair to Jack Game, he's the only one that hasn't conceded the position to Jorgen going around the outside of that little uphill section. But you see that Ginetta negates its lack of power on the straight by being absolutely rapid, especially through the first part of the lap as well. And he's already catching Stefan hand over fist. We'll just have a quick look at the race lead there, because we haven't seen much of him. He is 7 seconds clear at the front, and barring any mistakes, which is usually the cue for the commentator's curse, it looks like it's going to be a fairly easy victory for him.
Yeah, seems to be showing a pretty good, strong, solid pace as it stands at the moment. Just jumping to Tony Clifton, who's closing up onto the back of Atomic after his earlier spin. Tony's earlier spin, that is. That's Atomic going a little bit deep there in turn 12. Managed to keep it out the back of Zenzik, who's just up in front in 15th position there. But yeah, he's been probably keeping a close eye on the 2 cars in front, trying to figure out where their strengths and weaknesses lie, and see if we could potentially plan a move to execute later on. Here's As Turbo, saw earlier on in the thick of it. It's now about 1.2 seconds off the back of Luke in front. He's 3.5 seconds clear of WMDR Martin behind. So he's sat in 13th position, trying to keep pace with the guys in front, as obviously Luke is trying to hang on to the positions that he possibly can. Bogue France just going through the foreground of the picture there, up in 11th place. Jumping back to Alan, who's still holding onto the back of Strongest Avenger, despite a wandering rear end, as we jumped on board with him there, going through the S section. So good job by Alan. Strongest,
yeah.
Don't think he's quite got into his flowing rhythm yet. That's okay.
No, this is one of those cases where you have a driver who just latches onto the back of the faster car in front and is able to keep pace. You see it, well, you see it in most motorsports, but he's just gone a little bit deep there, just as I say that, into the left-hander. But as you say, he's keeping pace with them, and they're 5 seconds clear of Jack, so it's a very strong race this from Alan. But Strongest Avenger has made quiet progress, we should say. He's up into 6th place. Of course, he's now got Andrex just ahead of him. He could possibly make the top 5. I can't see him catching Yogurt, especially the pace that Yogurt is showing at the moment. But do you think Strongest Avenger will be happy with finishing in the top 5?
Yeah, I think he'd probably be a little bit disappointed that he probably could have gotten through the field a little bit quicker, but at the same time, obviously that's all in hindsight. You think that you probably could have gone for a move here when you didn't, or the other side of the coin to that is if you did go for the move, what would have happened? Would it have turned out worse than it did with you not going for the move? So it's kind of all various different questions that you ask yourself after these kind of races with the reverse grid order. But still, I think you'll be fairly happy with P5. Obviously, damage limitation with Lumi and Dynamite alive. The thing that kind of works in his favour is that it's actually Dynamite alive who is the closest driver to him. He won't have lost too many points to him in the first race, and shouldn't be losing too many points here, especially if Lumi does manage to hold on to the race winners. Bogue France is going down the inside of Kieran there into the first turn, managed to get that move done quite nice, neat and tidily. So now his next target is going to be Trip, but yeah, I think Strongest would be fairly happy with his performance this evening.
Yeah, and those two Lamborghinis running away with it at the front now. Yogurt, Stefan had a very slow lap on the previous lap, and Yogurt now is within 1.5 seconds of him. You can see Yogurt did a 205.1, a 209 flat from Stefan, so this battle is on, and Yogurt smelling a podium.
Yep, he's not got far to go, so the pressure will be mounting on Stefan's shoulders. You know that Yogurt is coming up behind him. Don't know whether the mistake on the previous lap is an actual mistake, or whether it may have been a time penalty, because he does have some time penalty to his name, so it may actually be the case, indeed, with 3 seconds, that at the moment Yogurt, although he is in 4th position physically on circuit, he is in the that final podium spot when the penalty gets applied at the end of the race. So it doesn't necessarily have to pass him on track, although with the likes of Andrex, Strongest Avenger and Alan closing up behind, you'll probably want to try and get past Stefan as quickly as possible, give himself a little bit of a buffer and try and ensure that he does actually hold on to that podium position.
Strongest Avenger then, he has got up to the back of Andrex, as Yogurt was making a move there a little bit further up. I'll jump back to him in a second, as we're just seeing if Strongest Avenger can now move up into 5th place, but through the S's it's going to be very difficult. But speaking of the S's, we're going to have to follow Yogurt through here, because I half expect him to make a move around the outside of one of these corners in the next couple of seconds.
Definitely, if anything, any of the other previous laps are to go by, this could potentially be his chance here, as Stefan's lost a little bit of momentum but hasn't quite been able to draw up alongside. We can get a nice, neat, tidy run. Coming off the exit of 9 there. Might have been able to do something, but Stefan Curry had his car positioned quite nicely. So having a look to the inside though, coming into the braking zone for turn 11, he's going to be there at the apex. Stefan Curry trying to line himself up for a decent drive off the exit of the corner. Looks like he's going to get that. We're going to get a nice helicam shot now of the two cars as they're drag racing down the back straight. You can see the Lamborghini starting to nose ahead now over the Ginetta, but Ginetta's still there or thereabouts on the outside. He may try and go for a move around the outside under braking, or switch back. Either one of the two. He goes sweeping around the outside. He's going to be on the inside coming for the next hairpin. Can he get that final podium spot physically on the circuit? It looks like he's managed to do so. Stefan Curry runs a little bit wide there and does indeed concede the position. But just behind is the battle between Alan Andrex and Strongest Avenger. Andrex now actually at the back of this 3-car train.
Yeah, they were pretty close when they coming into the left-hand hander at the end of that back straight, and as you say, Andrex has lost 2 positions there, but Strongest Avenger is now up into 5th place. So what was the difference there? We said Stefan's got a 5-second penalty now, and a 6-second penalty for Strongest Avenger. So he's going to have to catch and overtake Stefan if he wants to move back up into 4th. That's going to be the fight now, I think, is to see whether Strongest Avenger can move up into 4th place, as we've got Alan there having a go at Strongest Avenger.
Yep, definitely. I was going to say, Alan's not letting Strongest get away too easily with that one. It's going to make things obviously more difficult for him to pull away and get that 6-second gap that he needs in order to retain any of the positions. So Alan's just following through, coming through the S section, although almost losing the car a little bit there. Coming through 4 and 5. It's going to cost him a few car lengths, which may be Strongest's opportunity to try and eke that gap out a little bit. So Andrex is still right there, very much on the rear of his teammate, as Alan gets very squirrely coming out over the top of the hill. But yeah, it's going to be very, very close and really tight for Strongest, I think, to try and hold on to these positions. I could potentially see him dropping down into P7 at the end of this race unless he really manages to turn up the wick and pull out some storming laps.
Well, he's just pulled 1.5 seconds, didn't he? So maybe now that he hasn't got that pressure on him, and if they're going to catch Stefan Curry as well, that may be an influence, especially if the Lamborghini gets in the way of any of them, and it looks as if Strongest wants to get past that Lambo as quickly as possible, because if he can put a car between himself and those 2 Mercs, he might be able to pull out a gap that he doesn't lose both those positions. But we shall see. Just depends how quickly he catches Stefan in front.
Yeah, he's definitely not got many laps in order to do it either. 3-4 racing laps remaining, as Lumi, the race leader, is now on lap 18. He's managed to pull the gap back out to over 7 seconds to his teammate Dynamite Alive. It was coming down towards 6 seconds at one stage, but it looks like he's managed to pop in a good couple of laps to bring that gap a bit, well, yeah, back out a little bit larger. You can see Strongest Avenger is still struggling to get away from Alan. Alan's saw drop off the back of him this time round on the previous lap, but has managed to close it back up again in the second half of the lap, bring the gap back within half a second. So Alan looks like he's got the pace over Strongest at the moment.
Yeah, the car doesn't look so planted, does it, on the Strongest Avenger at the moment, but he has now got the Lamborghini well within his sights. He just needs to keep it tidy now through these next couple of corners as they come down towards the left-hander before the long straight. But as you say, Alan's definitely got the pace of him, but let's just see if Strongest Avenger can get past the Lamborghini. He's going to stick behind him. Stefan runs a little bit wide. May even have another one of these situations where the car at the back of this 3-way fight may have an advantage at the end of this straight.
Yeah, although Strongest certainly has the straight line speed over the Lamborghini, and Breeze is on pass coming down the straight, but will he be able to hold on to that advantage coming into the braking zone? It looks like he's doing so, but Stefan Curry is there lurking on the inside. Strongest having to give up the apex a little bit, but manages to hold on to the 4th position by going around the outside there. Now, the question is, can Strongest pull away in these last 3 laps to get the gap that he needs? Obviously, Stefan Curry has got a 3-second penalty. Alan has got his nose clean and doesn't have any time penalties to his name. Neither does Andrex, so they need to hang on to the back of the 2 drivers in front. Andrex is kind of nearing the threshold for the 3-second penalty that Stefan Curry's got, who's now very much under threat from Alan, who's having a look down the inside coming into the final turn. Stefan's gone a little bit deep. This could be Alan's turn to slip on through. It's a side-by-side drag race between the 2. I imagine the SLS has the straight line speed over the Lamborghini, does manage to pull ahead and pulls across his nose coming in towards the braking zone. Stefan Curry having a little bit of a look coming in towards the braking zone, but wasn't able to drop alongside to make the lunge. So Alan is now up into 5th position. He is now unleashed and able to chase back down Strongest Avenger, who's still within a second up ahead, although Alan very sideways and wiggly once again coming into the S section. That
was a crucial move, wasn't it? He didn't want to get stuck behind the Lamborghini for too long, and as as you say, he's got his nose clean. Strongest Avenger has a time penalty, so doesn't have to go too hard. But they're racing drivers. He'll want to get past on track. Although he just made a slight mistake there coming out of the chicane, just cost him a little bit of momentum. But looks set for 4th place at the moment. It's been a good fight, this, hasn't it, between Strongest Avenger, Alan, and Andrex. And although he's just dropped off the back of that little fight just for the time being.
Yeah, definitely. Just trying to look to see if there's any other drivers who are kind of battling away at the moment. The leaders have kind of rumped off and spaced each other out quite nicely. Yogurt's got the gap to Strongest Avenger by some reasonably comfortable margin. Stephen Curry still putting in pretty good lap times, within a tenth of his previous fastest there, going into the start of the final sector. So it's not like he's not pushing, but yeah, it's just the other drivers around and just got the cars hooked up a little bit better. Seeing Speedy go. He's fairly close to the back of Atomic. Speedy Go we saw earlier on in the pit lane. Not entirely sure the reasoning for that, but obviously that's gone and dropped him way down the field, and he's still trying to work his way back up, sneaking up the inside there. Atomic coming into turn 13. Makes that one quite nice and easy without too much worry. So now his next target is going to be Zenzek, who is that Audi there that's immediately in front of him. So he hasn't got far to go, but no, he is. Yeah, he's still on the lead lap, so that's all good for him, I think.
This is WMDR Martin, then he's just behind Jack Game. One of the closer battles on the track as they go over the line. He's within half a second of the other Lamborghini just ahead of him. So I'm going to cut back to Alan, who is just starting. He's 1.5 seconds now. He was just under a second behind Strongest Avenger, but I think he's safe there with the time penalties. He should see himself comfortably into 4th place so far. As we jump back to WMDR Martin, still chasing Jack Game for now. They've all spread out now, haven't they? And I think that's why we've probably not seen Speedy Go make his way back up through the field as quickly as we probably thought he could have done.
Yeah, definitely. But there's a nice 3-way fight here. As you say, Astobo just leading the head of the field in that McLaren. So Jack Game a little bit wide there at the apex of turn 11, but nothing too drastic. Not really lost too much time. He just kind of sat relatively comfortable in the middle of the 2 cars in front of him. I think it might be starting to close up a little bit in towards the braking zone here for turn 12. He's going to have a little bit of a look, just presenting himself in the mirrors of Asturbo coming into the braking zone there. Wasn't quite close enough to do anything with it though. Though he was certainly very close to the back of the car in front of him. WMDR Martin closing up a little bit as the 2 drivers were a little bit slower at the apex of turn 12 than they probably would be if they were running in completely clear open air with no one around them. So now they come into the long right-hander, and Martin potentially just trying to eye up an opportunity, but it's not quite there close enough to do so as of yet.
Here's our race leader. He's on to his final lap, and we're going to have a double Lamborghini 1-2, and they've shared the victories between the pair of them so far. But very strong pace again from the pair of them, considering they started at the back of the grid. This is very impressive from the 2 Lamborghinis, and very ominous, especially when we look towards some of the races coming up after this one.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we saw Lumi have some really strong pace in the previous round at Bathurst. Just unfortunately made a mistake within the last 5 or 6 laps that cost him the race win. As we've seen, and some very strong pace, very close to his teammate in qualifying, and then ran a fairly calm and solid race in the sprint race that we had this evening. Excuse me. And now is paying dividends with the way he managed to make his way through the field earlier on. Finally he managed to keep it clean. I mean, the car doesn't look like it's battered or bruised or anything, so it looks like it's been clean from everything that we can tell our end, but he now rounds out the final corner. He comes across the start-finish line to take the checkered flag, the race win of the feature race here this evening. Turns on his headlights, does a nice little weave towards his pit crew as he goes across the line in celebration. His teammate comes home in second place. They'll both be very happy with that points haul for their team championship. And here comes Joguk weaving as he comes down the start-finish line, a flash of lights. He's very happy with that third position. Almost picked up the final podium spot in the sprint race, but slight mistake cost him there. Strongest Avenger, he comes across the line in fourth position, but he's going to lose some places to Alan, who does pop up ahead of him, but I think he's managed to hold off both Andrex and Stephen Curry. Yes, he has indeed. Stephen Curry comes home in 7th position, with Andrex coming home in 6th place. So then going to be Bogue France there across the line in 8th, with Trip in 9th place. Then come 10th position is Kiwanik. And then As Turbo comes home in 11th place. Got a car there just in front of him, but I think that may have been a lap driver. No, it's Jack Game who came home in P12, but a penalty cost him that 11th place. Luke comes home in 13th position. And Speedy Go picks up 14th position. I think just about, yep, does indeed hold out to Zenzik in 15th place. WMDR Martin is parked there at the entry to the final corner. What's going on there? Martin's dropped down now into 18th position. He was previously in 16th. That's Nidalap now coming across the line towards, well, no, he picks up 16th position as Natnat gets dropped down in 17th. Whoops, see Daisy. I don't think that was quite the intention there. What's going on?
I think a couple of people's either connections have gone or their games are struggling, because we've got WMDR Martin and Atomic who haven't crossed the start-finish line. And they're glitching all over the place.
Yeah, I think it potentially may be running out of fuel. It's Big Cliff pushing Atomic here. Also trying to push Martin at the same time. That's very unusual. I haven't seen that before. Now Big Cliff's actually lost one of the two cars. There we go, gives them a nudge. I think Martin and Atomic have run out of fuel. B Cliff's actually run out of time to cross the line as well.
Oh dear.
Oh dear, so he's going to be not classified in the results. Blimey.
Well, I've never seen an end to a race like that before. That was incredible.
Yeah, that's quite surprising. So here is your official results then, with Lumi in first position, Dynamite Live in second, Yorgak third position, Alan picks up fourth as Strongest Avenger in 5th place, Andrex in 6th, Stephen Curry 7th. Bogue France in 8th position with Trip in 9th, Kiranek in 10th place.
As Turbo takes 11th then, ahead of Jack Game. Luke coming home in 13th, ahead of Speedy Go, who was trying to make up some positions towards the end. Zentik in 15th, ahead of Nidalap, who was our final classified driver, as Natnat, Beecliff, WMDR Martin, Atomic. Cinderfell was classified, but looks like he was a lap or so down. He comes through in 21st, and Tony Clifton in 22nd, with a bit of a weird ending to that race, I have to say.
Yeah, that was a little bit unusual. You can see Tony Clifton there having retired at the end after being a little bit further down the field than he probably would have hoped. But yeah, good racing there from all our drivers this evening with the double header that we had. Obviously the reverse grid order providing some entertainment and action for us as well. Hopefully we can get a few drivers in for a driver interview here potentially. Just waiting for someone to pop up in the ready for interview room. At the moment, no one's. Oh, two people are here and wanted to talk to us. So we'll get the first of the drivers in. It'll be Yorguk, one of the fan favourites, or certainly becoming a favourite of us two with you in the Ginetta. can I just say, first things first, both of us were massively impressed with that move that he pulled off around the outside at turn 8 in that feature race there. How did that come about?
Well, I actually don't know what move you're talking about because I pulled many sorts of moves.
That is true. That is true. I think it was the first one. Who was it on? I think it was on Alan.
I think you pulled it twice. It was the outside of the right-hander as you go up the hill. I think it's turn. Is it turn 8?
It is turn 8, yeah. But you did do it twice. I remember you did it on Alan once, and it was someone else as well. But one of the two was a little bit easier than the other. I think it was Alan that was the easier one with. I think he lost a little bit of momentum, which allowed you to slip on past. But there was one guy who you were basically side by side, and it was a full on, like, you actually had to work for it around the outside to get it. Very
Well, what I
impressive.
remember is that Alan was actually really hard to pass. Like in the corners, I could go around the outside or something because the SLS doesn't turn as well. But when we got on that straight, he passed me like 2 or 3 times. So he's probably the hardest person for me to pass this race.
Yeah. How did you find the Janetta overall? Obviously, you picked up 4th position in the sprint race, and then a very well deserved podium here. Saw that you had an awful lot of grip in the corners, although a little bit loose at times as well. I'm guessing you were just hoping for a little bit more straight line speed.
It was a bit unpredictable sometimes, especially in the low speed corners. When I get on the throttle too early, I might lose the back end, which is exactly what happened to me in the sprint race. And I kind of like lost the fight to strongest and took P4, which is pretty disappointing.
How did you find coming from the back? That's one of the features of the reverse grid. Did you enjoy it?
Well, first of all, I was really from the back because I got spun out in the opening lap, so I was basically last. But let me tell you this is probably the best race of the season yet because it was really eventful. The overtakes, it's not that easy to overtake, especially for me in a Janetta. The corners is not a good place to overtake, and in the straights I just cannot do anything. I can just stick in the slipstream. But it was definitely a challenge, and that's what I want. I just want to pass people and get a great fight out of it and just move up to the field. And that actually wasn't expecting a podium, but I'm really happy about that. I honestly thought I would finish like maybe top 5 at best, but I somehow got through the field pretty nicely and pretty like cleanly, I would say as well. I don't know about the others, but I try to leave as much space as I can. So yeah, it was probably my favorite race yet.
Good stuff. I imagine you're looking forward to Long Beach next week. Certainly got the car that suits that track.
Yeah, I'm really hoping for some great results in Long Beach because honestly, uh, this time in quali I had the pace to take the pole, but I didn't, which I was pretty angry about. But if I can just get pole in Long Beach next week, then I might as well just get away with it because the overtaking is not that easy there.
Yeah, well, it pulled on some great racing action for us this evening, and yeah, scored 2 very good next week.
Yep, see ya.
Cheers, bye bye. Right, we are going to do something a little bit different here. We've got ourselves a double interview. We've got the 2 V10.
I was being really aggressive with the traffic, and it kind of bit me a bit because I got 4 damage because I sort of hit Alan. So then I was just pushing as hard as I could because I didn't want to have Dynamite be faster because if he didn't have damage, I didn't know. So
And Dynamite, how did your progress go through the field? Obviously, we saw you at various points. You were a little bit easier to track, but tell us the start from your perspective.
Yeah, as always, I'm trying to be very cautious because guys are so close. So they were spinning in SS, and I have to be really careful. I'm not as aggressive as Lumi, but anyway, I got damaged too because I think I got checked up one time. Yeah.
It was pretty hard to tell for us. You were so far ahead of everybody else. You both put on very good performances in both races, and that's consolidated your position at the top of the team championship. But do you feel the pair of you are now really in the fight for that driver's title?
Yeah, and Avenger as well. I don't know what he was going to pull out of the bag.
It's maybe early to say that, but
Yeah.
we look strong.
Well, he is called Strongest Avenger, so the name fits.
Yeah.
The name fits the bill. But yeah, how are you guys thinking next week could potentially go at Long Beach?
Not sure, to be honest.
It depends how good Dynamite's setup is.
I see.
Yeah.
So Dynamite Alive does all
Yeah.
the setup work,
yeah,
and
he's
then
a technician.
yeah.
It's very good.
Brilliant stuff. Well, congratulations to the pair of you, as Matt said, consolidating the team championship, and both of you coming away with a race win and a second position. And we'll look forward to your championship fight with Strongest and Yogurt throughout the remainder of the season.
Yeah, thank you.
Cheers.
All right, cheers, guys. Have a good night.
See ya.
Bye.
Yeah, man. Good night.
All right, so those two done. We've got Atomic and Luke. Let's get Luke in first. Luke, hello.
Hey, hello guys.
How did
Evening.
your race and evening go? We kind of saw you towards the front of the feature race, and then obviously once the drivers the faster drivers started working their way through the field, we saw you drop down, but still managed to pick up 13th position in the end. Are you happy with tonight's performance?
Yeah, I was quite happy with the second race. I was, of course, waiting for the faster guys to catch up and pass me, but then I was well without mistakes most of the race. The first race was a different story, of course. I got I got spun out there just before the S's, and that put me in the last place pretty much. So the first race was a bit of a a bad race for me.
Yeah, that's kind of the idea, obviously, with the double header rounds, as those who have a bit of an unfortunate race in the first one, they can kind of come back in the second. What kind of happened at the start of the race? We kind of saw you up in and around second position for a while, then all of a sudden you dropped down into fifth. Was there a slight mistake or time penalty there?
No, I think I saw the faster guys coming up, and they were quite clustered. And I didn't really want to get too much in their way. I mean, I'm still my first season here, so I'm still learning a lot, following lines and learning from the very fast guys. So it's fun to be in the fight, but let's be honest, I'm not gonna be much of a fight for very long.
And that's very sensible, but I think you drove a fairly solid race in that second one as well. So what's your aim for the season then? Is it just to learn and what's your aim? Where do you expect to finish in the championship?
Well, I think I started the season off with my main concern was trying to be competitive, but not really going for points or something. I really just wanted to be able to keep up with some guys. I know I was never going to contend with the top 10 in Tier 1, so I was very realistic, I think. I think so far my season hasn't gone too well, but it hasn't gone too bad either, especially now this race. The second race at Bathurst was a bit of a bad show for me, to be honest. It was not really my favorite track, so I'm happy to be in the points here.
Yeah, it was a good race, man. Well done.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for talking to me.
You're welcome, mate. And yeah, we'll keep a close eye on out for you the rest of the season. Best of luck, and let you enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you, and see you guys.
Cheers, bye bye.
See you, mate.
Right. Oh dear, that Vigi just flew out my nose. Oh, apologies for that. Right. Let's get one more driver in. Atomic, hello. Welcome to the commentary box. How did your evening go for you? We think you had a bit of struggles in the first race, and then things were looking relatively good to begin with in the second race, and then you ended up dropping back down the field into 19th.
19th? No, 17th, I think. Oh, yeah, sorry, no, it was 19th, yeah, in the end. Yeah, no, it wasn't a bad night. I don't think. I'm not really a massive fan of Kota anyway, but I think I did okay. But yeah, the second race was a bit annoying because I actually put extra fuel in and actually still ran out of fuel. So I don't know what happened there, but a bit annoying.
Clearly driving too fast.
Yeah, we were wondering what was going on at the end. But up to that point, how do you think that race was going for you?
Pretty good. I was having a pretty good battle with Zenzik, and I was hoping to try and get P15. And then Speedy came along and sort of put an end to that, and that's when I sort of dropped down the order a little bit.
That's unfortunate. How are you feeling with regards to Long Beach next week?
Yeah, it's another tough one, but fingers crossed I can score some points in that one.
Yeah, it'll be good to see you. It's been good to see that you've made progress since season 15 and found some pace. Good to see you gain a little bit more, and obviously there's some moments earlier on where you were kind of battling away and putting on a good performance, which is good to see. It's nice to see you kind of get into grips with the car and finding time in your competitive edge.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, I think after tonight's round, I think I'm beating last season points wise. So, so yeah, that's a bonus.
Excellent. Well, we'll let you head off and enjoy the rest of your evening. But yeah, thanks for coming to talk to us here after your races tonight.
Thank you very much. Yeah, see you next week.
Cheers, bye. Right. I think that's pretty much everything. Done the driver interviews. We've had the 2 races. We had the qualifying. Now our eyes turn to Long Beach next week, as we see. As we've been saying, which will be back to the usual format of our 50-minute qualifying session and then a 60-minute race. It looks like it will be a race a bit later in the afternoon, evening. I don't know if it'll be in and around sunset time. I think it's a little bit early, but still, Long Beach, fantastic circuit. It's a little bit difficult to overtake. There's a couple of overtaking opportunities, but it will certainly be a nice, interesting challenge for the drivers that they've not had this season so far.
Yeah, definitely. Looking forward to it now. And that the championship's just closed up a little bit at the top of the drivers with the 2 Lamborghini guys picking up victories today. So, Strongest Avenger may still lead the way but he's got those 2 snapping at his heels.
Yep, he certainly has. So down in the description below, you shall find a link to the forum if you want to get involved here at AOR. If you want to follow myself on either Twitter or YouTube, you can find a link to my Twitter down there. And also included is a link to Matt's Twitter as well. It'll be very much appreciated if you would follow us and obviously subscribe to the AOR channel. And hopefully we shall see you back same time again, 8 PM UK British summertime, where we'll have round 4 of season 16. But from us here at AOR, thanks very much for tuning in. Until next time, have fun, stay safe, and take care.
Goodbye, everyone.